Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy you are here today for a reading 13 horror novellas reading vlog. I started this, I wanted to read a bunch of novellas and I wasn't quite sure what it was going to be. I was going to attempt what Gabby from Gabby Reads did recently where she read 6 novellas in 48 hours and then I was like, that's too much pressure. Also, I want a spooky number. I want to do 13. But can I read 13 in 48 hours? Definitely not. So I ended up reading 13 horror novellas, I think in the span of 5 days, and I'm not the same afterwards. This is future Katrina here. I will say I was also inspired to do this video by my friend Meg from Reading with Meg. I will link her channel down below and tag her. I got one of the recommendations from the video that I watched from her, and yeah, I'm not the same Katrina. I'm a very different one now. But just getting into some of the books that I read, or all of the books that I ended up reading in this reading vlog, to see if you are intrigued or interested and finding out my thoughts. I have it written down because there's no way I'm going to remember where I read all of these either. So I started out the vlog reading The Possession of Natalie Glasgow by Haley Piper, and I ended up listening to this one on Scribd. The next book I ended up reading was Waif by Samantha Kolsnick, and I read this on ebook, and then I ended up reading What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, and I ended up listening to this on Scribd. And I also ended up reading The Tent by Keelan Patrick Burke, and I read the ebook on Scribd. And I also read The House on Abigail Lane by Keelan Patrick Burke, the ebook on Scribd. The next book I ended up reading was The House Plant by Jeremy Alexander. This is available on Kindle Unlimited. The next book I ended up reading was A Trial by Darkness by Zach Megan, and this is available on Kindle Unlimited. And I ended up reading For the Sake Of by Judith Sonnet. This was on ebook, and I believe it is $1.50. The next book I ended up reading was Benny Rose the Cannibal King by Haley Piper, and I read this on Kindle Unlimited. Next book I ended up listening to was The Halloween Tree by Ray Bradbury, and I borrowed this from Libby. The next book I ended up reading was Scanlines by Todd Kelsing, and this is just my physical copy from Nightworms. And then I ended up reading The Funhouse by Matt Shaw, which is available on Kindle Unlimited. And finally, the last book I ended up reading in this vlog is 3 Days in the Pink Tower by Eve Knight, and yeah, I just got this physically. There you have it. Those are the 13 horror novellas that I ended up reading in this vlog. And now cut to past Katrina. Okay, so it is the next day. I think it's almost been 24 hours since I started this vlog, and I totally went off of what I said at the beginning of this, so I'm gonna have a different intro for this because I'm not entirely sure what this vlog is even going to be right now. I know it's gonna be a horror novella vlog, but I just don't know the details yet. I'm just reading horror novellas, but I ended up reading 3 horror novellas in 24 hours, which I think is really good. Starting with The Possession of Natalie Glasgow by Haley Piper. I almost said The Possession of Haley Piper. No. This is a quick 60 minute audiobook in 60 pages, and I think I listened to it like at 2.5 or 2, and yeah, it was like 30 minutes. And this is a pretty unique possession story. It really takes the form of like a medical horror at the beginning. I feel like that part in The Exorcist when Regan is getting all the tests done on her. It gave me those vibes, and I really liked that. And then it kind of delves into something else, and I thought it was really interesting, and I really liked where it went and the reveal, and it was great. And I wrote down here, because I'm trying to take a little bit of notes because I am going to be reading so many books. I gave it 5 stars and no words. It was just listened to on Scribd, 5 stars. So I really liked it. Highly suggest. And then I read Waif on ebook form, and this is by Samantha Kolsnick. This is the author of True Crime, another kind of extreme horror book. and I wasn't a huge fan of true crime. I guess it was okay, and I thought I'm gonna give Waif a chance because I'm a little bit more seasoned in extreme horror, but I did enjoy this. I did enjoy parts of this. I was very invested and read very quickly. It's 130 pages, and you feel bad for the main character. I will say look up trigger warnings for this. It is extreme. It deals with domestic abuse, like all the domestic abuse. This woman is in a abusive marriage to a super wealthy guy, but she fantasizes about this one dude she met at the store, and she lets him know. She's like, hey, I don't find you attractive anymore. I find this random dude attractive. And he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna get plastic surgery so you find me attractive. So he goes to a bunch of plastic surgeons and they're like, we're not gonna do it. And he has to go to like a back alley sketchy plastic surgeon for this. I'm laughing because it did get pretty zany in it, and I thought it was funny. It reminded me of Plastic Monsters by Daniel J. Velope a bit, but I feel like there's too much going on in this story for 130 pages of it, but I got the overall theme of it. It just felt like a little too much, and it felt really funny in places I feel like it shouldn't have been funny. So I'm leaning towards like a 3-star or 3.5 star for this one. And then I listened to What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. This has been kind of everywhere since it came out because the cover of it is so incredibly gorgeous. It's so good. And this is kind of a retelling or an inspired of the fall of the House of Usher. And we follow a soldier visiting the brother and sister at the House of Usher, the Ushers, and there's a doctor there because the sister is sick. And that's pretty much all I'm going to say about this one because it's really easy to give this one away. It's very short. The audiobook is so good. I loved the main character, Easton, so much. And there was so much humor in this. I was laughing and it felt right. It didn't feel like the humor in Waif. It didn't fit in. It didn't flow. This flowed so well for me. I loved all of the dialogue. I love the talk of like the wars and being a soldier and like habits of soldiers and the like the weird little, I guess, things soldiers do for luck, or you know, I don't know. I really liked this main character a lot, and the spookiness of the fall of the House of Usher. I think T. Kingfisher captured gothic horror magnificently in this, while like having this awesome dialogue and great back and forth with the all the characters in this book. Felt very fleshed out and real, and oh, it was so great. It was like watching a movie, honestly. This felt like Vincent Price's The Fall of the House of Usher a bit, but a little bit more exciting and a little bit more funny. And yeah, I loved the imagery. There's some really great imagery just looking out on the lake and stuff, and oh, I was there, I was in it, and I loved it, and I'm giving it 5 stars, and I highly suggest checking this one out. I do know that the physical book has pictures in it, and I'm going to assume, so call me out in the comments for assuming this, that they are Miss Potter's sketches. Also loved Miss Potter. She's so sassy. I loved it. I loved everything about this book so much. It got me so pumped for Mike Flanagan's Fall of the House of Usher adaptation. I know it's going to be devastating and heartbreaking, and I just really love the original Fall of the House of Usher. How many times am I going to say it? I have so much love for that story and the Vincent Price movie that I'm so excited to see like people do their own versions of it. Like I have goosebumps right now. Like it's very exciting to see this story done in different ways, and like, oh, it's so good. I loved it. It was fantastic. I love T. Kingfisher too, so I'm completely biased. I know this. I gave like Hollow Places like almost 5 stars last month, so totally biased here. I also really liked like where this went, and it's a theme in books that I like, so without giving that away, but yeah. So those were the 3 books I ended up reading. I also went to Lowe's to check out their Halloween there, and they had the cutest little freaking Chucky. I was just like, this Chucky is so cute. He's so expensive, but he was adorable. And they have a bunch of, I didn't get any b-roll of it, but they have a ton of Nightmare Before Christmas stuff. Like, they have stuff I've never seen, like inflatables of, like the like clown guy with the spinner thing on his head. They had him, and I was like, I have never even seen anything like with him at all. So if you guys like, if you like Nightmare Before Christmas, Lowe's has a bunch of stuff. Like, I would say half their stuff was Nightmare Before Christmas. Anyways, I am going to a friend's like cookout low country thing because it is Labor Day, and people do stuff on Labor Day apparently, and not just sit in their house and read horror novellas like I want to do. Hello. But I'm going to be going to do that, so hopefully I can knock out like 3 or 4 more horror novellas before I check in again. But yes, I will check in later.
From those dreams I see your face. Nobody's seen you in a while. I'm saying, boy, you can still see me smile. Smile. I have dreams I was busted by the cops.
Okay, so it has been almost 24 hours since I last checked in, and I'm in my car because of construction, of course, in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week. But I have to say, I just discovered my car witch was on the back seat because she broke. Oh my gosh, I paid $1 and she broke immediately. So rude. Anyways, I did manage to find some Halloween at Dollar Tree. I found some socks. These are awesome. I love this long fuzzy sock, and then another pumpkin hat sock, and then some spider socks. They even had baby socks. I was like, this is so cute. I've never seen baby socks there. And then I found some little plastic skeleton shot glasses I thought were really cool. And yeah, I was pretty good. I was really good. Because yeah, again, they're still slowly putting out stuff there. So anyways, I thought I would do a little mini Halloween haul, not have it this whole vlog be a Halloween haul. Anyways, I did read some books. I ended up reading 4 more novellas. If I start to sweat, my car is on, but the AC is not. Maybe I should turn it back on. I'll have it on low, but yeah, you can probably hear it. It's like, what is happening? It's 100 degrees today. Anyways, I read The Tent by Kaylin Patrick Burke. This is on Scribd. It is 75 pages, and it was so much fun. This is a perfect summer horror book, camping book. I had a lot of fun with this one. It's about a family that gets lost in the woods after their tent takes off and like blows away, and they find another tent in the woods. And I will say my only complaint with this is that you got a lot of backstory of the family that I feel like you didn't need in the story itself, because you just didn't need it. I didn't need to know like every detail of these people's marriage. It could have been done like much shorter, I think, or like at least, 15 pages off. But I still really liked it, and I'm giving it 3 stars. Okay, so I just stopped because there was like a bunch of people walking their dog by me. I'm in the cemetery, but I'm in like a really fancy cemetery that people just like walk around all the time. I don't know. Anyways, the next book I read was another Kaylin Patrick Burke book, and that was The House on Abigail Lane, and I also read this on Scribd. A lot of his novellas are on Scribd ebook, which is really cool, and I loved this. This is told kind of as a found footage story not the whole way through. I think it's more of like a research paper at the beginning, and then it heads into found footage. This is just about a house that has a many disappearances attached to it, and then even some supernatural stuff that happens. There's a very creepy scene in this that I was reading it before I went to bed last night, and I was like, yep, that might give me nightmares tonight. Awesome. I love it. And the ending was so bizarre and so great, and it had one of those classic like horror story endings. So did The Tent. I really liked both of these little short stories. Honestly, I really like Keelan Patrick Burke books. I really like Blanky and Sour Candy, and I believe those are on Scribd as well, and those are great little spooky novellas. I think Blanky's still like my favorite, but I don't know, The House on Abigail Lane is like up there. I am terrified of sunflowers now. They freak me out now. And Richmond loves their friggin' sunflowers. I know so many people that grow sunflowers and like absolutely love them, and I'm like, yeah, they're okay, but they're giant freaking weird flowers. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one, and I'm thinking of giving it like 4 stars. And the next book I ended up reading on Kindle Unlimited was The Houseplant by J. Alexander, and I wouldn't necessarily call this a horror book, like a typical horror, but J. Alexander does write horror stories, and this is one of his micro horror stories. It's 40 pages, and this was a great little book about grief, and he wrote it because of like a Pixar short. He was like, I want to kind of write my own little Pixar short story, and I think this fits perfectly as a Pixar story, maybe a little darker, like a very dark Pixar story, but I thought it worked really well. It had me tear up, which is kind of insane if you think about it only being like 40 pages. I was like, oh my gosh, it was great. I absolutely loved it, and I highly suggest picking this one up. But if you don't read any of these short little novellas in this vlog, read The Houseplant at least. It's 40 pages. It's on Kindle Unlimited, and you'll just enjoy it. So the next novella I ended up reading was A Trial in Self-Darkness by Zach Megan. This author reached out to me on Instagram and has actually offered to give me a copy of one of his books, or both of his books. I can't remember, but it is available on Kindle Unlimited, this story, and this is about a security officer, or I guess a CO officer, correctional officer in a prison during a power outage. He gets stuck in an elevator like falls 3 stories, and he's kind of coming to terms with stuff that he's done in his life, and there's some pretty creepy imagery in this. There's some crazy stuff that like has happened in his past, I guess, in past stuff in the correctional facility, yeah, it was spooky about that, and also kind of not knowing like what was really going on in it. But I will say it felt a bit biased, like Christian biased to me, pretty heavy-handed with it at the end, and I'm very biased against stuff like that because of my unresolved childhood religious trauma that just will probably take years and thousands of dollars to fix. So when I see stuff like that in fiction and stuff, and I don't know, I don't really know that that's where it's gonna go, or that it leans that way, it just doesn't feel quite right to me, and it's not my favorite thing ever. You guys know I've talked about my religious trauma in other videos on my channel, that I was raised Southern Baptist, so I have kind of a lot of issues with stuff still, and yeah, so it wasn't my favorite novella out of this. Out of all the ones I've read so far, I think I'm leaning towards like a 2-star, but I will still read his other book. But that is all for now. I feel very weird right now talking to a camera in a graveyard. So I will check in later. Hopefully I'll read 5 more books because I'm up to 8. Right now, yes, 8. Yes, that's right. And I want to get to 13. So I will check in when I've read another 5 novellas.
In a while, I'm saying, but you can still see me smile. Smile. I have dreams that's busted by the cops. Yeah, when I go to jail, I'm happy to wake up from those dreams. Hey! I'm a haunted house, and I'm a carnival. I'm spooky mirrors in the nighttime. I try blood on my mouth.
Okay, so it has been a full day since I last checked in, and I was going to do this check-in in my car because it is still during the week, during the day, and it might be a little loud. I'll play music if it is loud, so hopefully it won't get loud. Anyways, I was on sprints on Lexi's channel yesterday. I'll link those sprints down below, and I managed to read 2 books, but I ended up reading 5 more novellas. Boy oh boy, I am kind of exhausted with novellas right now. But anyways, I ended up reading Benny Rose, the Cannibal King by Haley Piper. This is available on Kindle Unlimited, and it is a Halloween book, and I really enjoyed it. This is about a girl who lives in a neighborhood with no kids, and she invites her friends over for Halloween, and it doesn't turn out well because there is a cannibal king that likes to eat children. This was great. I absolutely loved it. It's a great Halloween little story, and it felt very cinematic as well. Like, I wasn't expecting it to be as action-packed as it was, and the imagery was great, and I really liked the idea and the reveal of this Cannibal King, and I think I'm leaning towards like a 4-star, like 4.5 star, because the more I think about it, I'm like, I had a lot of fun with it, and it's only 130 pages, so highly suggest checking this one out. Next book I ended up listening to from Libby is The Halloween Tree by Ray Bradbury. This is such a little short novella. I think it was 3 hours long, and it was so cute. It's like a little middle grade book about these boys that find a Halloween tree. It has like lanterns on it, and they I don't want to give too much away because it is so short, but they end up meeting somebody and being shown things, if that makes any sense, and they have to make like kind of a big decision. And oh my gosh, I once cried during this. If I was human, I would have cried, because it was very heartwarming, and yeah, I really liked it, and I'm thinking 5 stars. Boy oh boy, I can see why people love this book, and hold it in their hearts forever, their Halloween hearts forever. So highly suggest this one. I'm on the hunt now for a physical copy because I loved it so much. The next book I ended up reading was Scanlines by Todd Kelsing. I've had this one forever. It's actually on my September TBR, and this is about like a haunted video tape of a senator like shooting himself. That happened in real life, and the real life cases are mentioned. There's like a whole list of real life horrible stuff being on camera or on tape, and like how you accidentally stumble upon this stuff on the internet, or go searching for it, I guess is a better term for it. I was not expecting this though to be so creepy and like haunting. I was like, I thought it would be more of an action book for some reason. I don't know why. And there's some like, I don't want to say time travel. I don't want to give anything away too much, but basically they end up going to the 90s and being in the present time. So if you like 90s books, if you like videotape stores, you know, not videotape, like a Blockbuster situation. There's some Blockbuster action in this, I guess. Oh, you know, remember back in the day I had videotape stores. Oh gosh. And this read very quickly because it actually is broken up. There's like these weird pictures and stuff. So I really suggest the physical copy because there's some like staticky looking pictures and there's also like handwritten letters and stuff. But please look up content warnings for this. Todd Kelsing actually has like a suicide like hotline number in this, which is actually, I think this is 611 now. I'm not sure, or 211. They've actually have like kind of like a 911 number now for suicide hotline in the US, and that is very recent. I think it happened this summer. So yeah, look up trigger warnings, content warnings. Is very dark. It has a really dark ending too, which I really liked. And yeah, I had a lot of fun with this. It reminded me of like a David Lynch story, if you are a fan of David Lynch, but it felt a little bit more fleshed out than David Lynch. You know, David Lynch can be ambiguous sometimes, and yeah, I really liked it. I'm thinking like 4 stars. The more I think about it though, I'm like, this was really good. So probably a little bit higher than that. The next book I ended up reading was another Halloween book. It's The Funhouse by Matt Shaw, and this is on Kindle Unlimited, and it's 97 pages. And this is kind of a slasher, I would say. It has a bit of a twist in it, and the way the chapters were broken up was kind of funny, but overall it felt kind of mediocre, and yeah, it just kind of fell short for me. I was kind of bored through it. I think I honestly fell asleep reading it, and it was like 7 o'clock at night, and I just like fell asleep, but I finished it. But I'm thinking like 3 stars for it, but it definitely just takes place on Halloween. It doesn't have like any of those big Halloween vibes, but maybe spooky weird house vibes. The last book I ended up reading, the 13th novella, ended up being quite intense and kind of a bummer, but I'm glad I read it, and I wouldn't say I particularly enjoyed this book. It was really a lot, knowing the circumstances of this book, and I got the recommendation from Meg. I'll link her channel down below, Reading with Meg. I saw her talk about this in her novella reading vlog video, so highly go to check that out. And oh boy, it was a lot because this really happened to the author, and that is 3 Days in the Pink Tower by Eve Knight. And I love the cover. That was like kind of what sold me on it. I was like, ooh, tarot card cover with pink and spider webs, how great. And now I see like why when I see people talk about this book, I've always been like, I like the cover, and they're like, oh, it's very dark. So this is kind of like an auto-fiction book, I guess. It's fiction, but it's based off of the author's real life events of being kidnapped and raped for days, I guess. And she talks about her experience in the author's notes, so you have to read the author's note first, or if not first, read it afterwards. And yeah, it was very intense, but it has like that esoteric kind of twist in it, and I really like that. If you read tarot, if you are intrigued by tarot cards and stuff, you'll probably get more from it than I did, but I still really enjoyed it, and you know, there's power in people's survival stories. I feel like survivor stories are very inspirational, but you have to acknowledge like they're super dark as well. And yeah, highly suggest reading this one. I'm thinking 5 stars. I really liked the ending of this, and yeah, it was super dark, depressing. I loved it. It was great. Also, it's a little spine book. So now I have 2 of these. I almost have a full human. No, I almost have a full family of spine books, right? Oh, there you have it. Those are 13. Ah! My clown fell. So there you have it. Those are 13 horror novellas that I read in, I don't know, like 5 days or so. That seems about right. Let me know in the comments down below, which one are you interested in reading? Have you read any of these horror novellas? And you guys have a great day. Bye.
This carnival